but you have to also remember the small business, like the small restaurant.
That's why the guardrail is so important for the small business, because
Right.
16,000 is the base. You can't go below that. You understand?
All right, let me tell you this as somebody.
That's not a good comparison for a server where they get tipped. So with minimum wage.
All right, I'm gonna refer to
Let me hear that comment, Arky. Let me hear that comment from another person.
That's not a good comparison with someone who is serving and getting tips.
Why
You have to talk about someone who is getting.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
Hold on. I'm saying that's not a good comparison, because in America you don't get pay. You work for tips.
No, darling. You have not done it. I can tell you because I've done it. I get $5.50 an hour a few years ago when I work as a server. $5.50 per hour, and you get your tips.
Sir, I work in a restaurant. I live on Cape Cod. You know Cape Cod, Massachusetts?
Heard of it, never been
But
there.
the question is this, madam. Are you a server or a waitress?
It's the same difference.
No, but no, I'm asking.
No.
But Travis, hold on. We must also realize that, I mean, what I know from the service industry, once you work in a restaurant or a bar, and you're a bartender, you're a waitress, or you're a server, whatever the thing is, you get a base salary and you get tips, and your tips is all shared amongst everybody, the bus boy, the bus
some restaurants, not all places.
That's what I know of it.
Yeah, you get five
hold on.
an hour,
Let's clear up that real quick. Let me clear up that real quick.
Let me tell you what I said first before you go. You said the comparison you're talking about server getting tips in Jamaica with minimum wage. You have to talk about someone who is getting the dead minimum wage.
Okay.
Minimum wage, and that's what I was coming to. Travis, just let me say this.
Deal with the tips and the minimum wage.
Charlie, let me just say this. As somebody who pay like a helper, right? When they bring in the minimum wage, back then, I think it was 2010. How much was the minimum wage there? I was paying my helper far above the minimum wage, all right? Then came COVID. COVID messed up everything for everybody. You know where that put you, or put the domestic helper. So now the government says 16,000, which is just a guideline, because you cannot go beneath that. What I do with my helper now is tell her, instead of coming 5 days a week, I say come 3 days a week, and I pay her $16,000. And that she can go elsewhere and do whatever.
Leave room to make money elsewhere.
Exactly.
Understood.
So when people are saying minimum wage, some persons definitely, if it raised to 20, you know what I would do? I would have to start doing the work my damn self, because I couldn't afford the $20,000.
Unless the economical times change and you yourself are making more money.
Unless my situation changes.
And you are making more money. Because if you're making more money, you're more inclined to pay the raise, right?
Exactly. More than, because before COVID, I was paying her far more. You understand? Way above minimum before they even come in with this. And may I say this though? May I say this also? Nobody now work for no minimum wage. They tell you how much they're working. Nobody ain't working for it. So as Travis rightfully said, the minimum wage is just a guideline. Nobody's not taking the $16,000. So that's why you see a lot of people are now crying out they can't find any work. So we have to be careful of what we ask for and what we suggest. We have to sit down and assess, analyze before we jump to conclusion and say yeah. And so we have to be realistic. We cannot follow the masses in the name of politics and talk garbage. We just have to be realistic.
And I will concur in that, because I remember when this minimum wage argument starts, I am actually intimate to a situation where people work in Jamaica. And I was for one of the persons that would advocate that the minimum wage should move to at least 25,000, I must admit. And then when I had that conversation, and somebody come back to me and say, Garfield, are you willing to pay 25,000?
Yeah, you have to take a step back. Eh?
I had to take a step back.
Right.
And the persons, and this is somebody that, I mean, I can even say it is my wife, because we have some things that she does in Jamaica and in the call center industry. And when you look at it and you say, so the truth of the matter, and that is why I tell you, I am a true capitalist at home, and I make no apologies for that, you know.
Okay, with the call center now, remember the call center have a quota that you reach, so you get extra money, right?
They can make money at the call center. They
You
do
make
make
money at the call center, but keep
Right,
in mind.
Hold on. We must make a distinction here. It's a call center, the telemarketing thing of the old days that you call and try to sell something.
Not the case again.
That's not what the case in Jamaica right now.
Exactly. Correct.
BPO, business outsource processing, is different.
Right.
People can tend to mix it as the same thing of the olden days. No, it is totally different now. And I tell you, it pays way better than it used to do in the back in the days. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you proof. I'm going to give you a real life experience with it. I was, checking up on some friends who were working in the BPO sector. And when I went to there's a certain location, I had a classmate who is working in accounts there, and he was doing payroll. So he had me to wait for a little bit, as well as I had friends who work on the floor. And I noticed that ATL had a whole booth set up at this place. And I was like, why ATL? Why them advertise here? So do tourists come through the area often? And the security guard said to me, if I should take a look in the parking lot, and that would answer me. Please note that on a customer vehicle. Be a brand new vehicle.
You don't travel. You have call center
Are they
workers.
being paid that good? Yes,
No,
they are paid good.
Travel. I can tell you. You have call center workers go home with like 250, 300,000 a month.
Yeah, that's true.
I know it for a fact. Like I tell you, my classmate, he works in accounts.
Okay.
He was doing
And
that.
more.
So when
I used to work
when
at
we
a
finally
call center.
had a conversation, I
Okay.
start talking to him about it, and he start telling me the type of salaries people are getting there.
Yes. Yes.
And majority of the people who are working in call center these days, you find out these are people with degrees, like proper
Yes.
degrees. But because they go and they do it because the money is good. Yes, they
Not only
more.
that, some of them do it to upgrade themselves further.
No,
Because
the reason I say it like that is because a lot of people with degrees aren't really working in the field to which they studied for.
right.
And aren't being paid the amount of money they're actually worth if they're being
Right.
paid with regards to their degree. But they go to these jobs because they're still able to make good money and make a life for themselves.
So when people come and talking down on call center and say, oh, the government filling up the place with call center and this, that, they don't even have a clue. I
They
can
don't
tell
understand.
you.
As a matter of fact, it's most recently I got an Observer article. I read an Observer article where the current opposition stated that BPO sector will be the driving force for them bringing new jobs to Jamaica. They are going to use it as the main driver. That's the correct the way it was put. The main driver of employment.
But yet they were trampling on it. They were downplaying
Because
it.
the truth come out now and people know the truth. So guess what? I saw it work. I'm telling you, it's just politics. Mark and them guys, they will say something now because it's so good and it's attractive.
And people
but when
will
the
run
truth
with
come out,
it.
they're going to realign themselves. All right. Most recently, he talked about the 3 million because it's 3 million tax threshold because it sounded good and it grabbed people attention. But the more the current administration give people information that listening to will cost this amount, you know what they have resorted to? This week, he said that it is under review.
Yes.
He's not taking back
Okay,
there,
labor
but
right.
he
Get back
tone
to
it
the
down.
matter at hand. So the call center now in a hit with the minimum wage, and that we try to get out of it. So the
No,
call
no,
center
no.
serve
They
I wanna
pay
get tips.
As a matter of fact,
It's part of it, Scrubs.
Charlie, let me tell you something. It's the most call center in Jamaica. Their pay is quoted in US dollars.
I know. Me used to work at call center.
Oh, you used to work there, good. So you know full
But
and well
years
what I'm
ago,
talking.
me know everything, but me know what I go on.
You know full and well what I'm talking
Me been
about.
around.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But me
And
said,
yes,
call
In
center
the US dollars, man, I was so shocked.
and yes, Scrubs. Not to shy away from what you were saying, but just to put this point in, a lot of persons are saying, "Oh, no work, no, they're Jamaican no suffer." That's not true. Work is here like crazy because guess what? We can work. What the thing you call it in the States again, where you can work? You can.
Internship?
No. You can work like you can stay abroad and work. A lot of that is going on now. I forgot the terminology.
Remote working.
Remote work, right.
Oh, that's a
Remote
call
workers.
Yeah.
And that is now established widely in Jamaica. So a lot of people are benefiting from it. So if persons out there complaining that they're not getting jobs, it's because they don't want to work.
Yeah, but
I will say this. Post, I will say this. I'm going to give you a key. The next time you have a live broadcast or you're talking to somebody individual and they tell you that nothing not going in Jamaica and there's no work, please do me a favor. Ask that person what is their qualification. What are they qualified to do? And it might sound weird when I say that, but let me tell you how this works. How this I got change the conversation.
Right.
A lot of jobs that are being offered in Jamaica, a majority of the persons who are saying there's no job, they're not qualified to do these jobs.
Exactly.
Oh, Travi,
did you hear the requirement? Did you hear the requirement to park cars at the Dam and Manly International Airport? Did anybody hear?
What is the requirement?
Tell me about it. 3 subjects at least.
You gotta have a degree.
I thought it was at least 3
Hold
subjects.
Hold on. What is the requirement, Chavi?
At the start, you had to have a degree. I think they bring it down to subjects now.
Yeah.
But Travi, we need the question to answer the labor rights.
Let's hear it.
Government having the hotels putting the people on contract work.
All right, so that was introduced back in the 90s. It's a capitalist way. I think Goverment is supposed to speak on this. It gives the employer the opportunity to escape certain responsibilities.
Correct.
Like retro pay,
no benefits,
as well as redundancy money.
Redundancy, yeah.
A lot of things. It gives them escape. It really takes away a lot of responsibility from them. And I agree with you. This administration should look into it and have it, removed but they have led by example.
Yeah, but
and I say that because I see where NSWMA workers have been moved from contract and are becoming permanent worker. As a matter of fact, last March when Dr. Nigel Clark announced it, he said 3,500 persons would have benefited from that move right there. And he also mentioned other government entities who had the same practice that will be turning away from it. The government has also given the major security companies in Jamaica the mandate to move away from the contract work also. So it's a tough process, and
but if it was in the 90s,
I believe we will get there.
It wasn't that big in the 90s. Can now no hotel. Listen.
No, what she's saying.
Charlie, let me say this.
Hold on. In the 90s, there was the magnitude of hotels that is there. They were there in the 90s. But the fact
but here is Goffman. Going to the 90s goes to the root of the problem. That's what I'm trying to
say. I agree. But
because if I come in the early 2000s and see you, Goffman, operating in a certain way, I mean, no set me in a little extra money. You think me I go do the noble thing and say, no, Goffman, man, you're there how long and I treat the people in bad. No, me I join in for the benefits too, and that's human nature.
Yeah, but hold on, Travis, but this boils down to Travis, boils down to the vacuum. Mm-hmm. These investors are coming in from Mexico, the Spanish countries, and they are coming into Jamaica and they are investing
in Canada
all Travis, yes. The French, and they're coming into Jamaica to invest. Remember, before these guys come into Jamaica, Travis, are these entities, these people already sit at the board table. They sit at the table, and these are the demands that they ask the government for to come in and invest.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is this: if these contract working, these people want it. That is what they demand because they don't want to have the responsibility, as you rightfully say, to pay health benefit. You get redundant. You have unemployment, income tax, and all them things. They don't want to be liable to no Jamaican worker.
Yes.
So the question is this. Is the government of the day have to find the balls
as we get better? Yes.
To say to the investors, this is what we want.
Gaffman, here, I beg you, 1 second, let me join with you. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle or which party is in power. This will be fixed when Jamaica, I'm not talking about party now, when Jamaica has grown to the level to where we can demand these things and don't care what an investor has to say. At this point, we're not at that level. So we go and take, but we are at a good level, you know, because we have demanded housing.
That's why I said to you, there is a vacuum. There is a vacuum. But until that space is filled, and I am of the belief that there are Jamaicans investors that can angle a lot of the investments in Jamaica, that these Jamaicans don't keep their capital in Jamaica. It's in North America. Only discretionary income they keep in Jamaica. And they invest. They invest largely outside of Jamaica, but they don't want to invest in Jamaica because they don't see Jamaica as turning over the profit margin that they want. That is why company like Grace Kennedy, we have to give company like Grace Kennedy all the credit because Grace Kennedy is anchored in Jamaica and they put their largest profit margin and they build back in Jamaica. But until that vacuum is filled, the government has no cards to play with.
And the point of Grace Kennedy, I concur with you. Remember they traded publicly on the Jamaican stock market. You know, that means they are embedded in the fabric of Jamaica. And I agree with that statement. As per investors, we are gaining strength. We are gaining strength, and I say that because more and more investors are coming in right now.